Alright guys, so yesterday when I did my three-way crossover, which you guys voted on, of Doctor Who Starship Troopers and Dead Space, I talked about one that was very close to winning and actually got enough buzz that made me go, you know what, I'm going to do this as its own video. I'm going to have the runner-up, and I think I might make that a rule. If the runner-up has enough, like if it's close enough, or if it's a tie, then there's always a chance I might do the second one. Besides, it's my channel and my Patreon page. I can make whatever rules I want. So yeah. So let's get into Road Rovers, G.I. Joe, and Witchblade. Yep. I figured after how well people dug the Road Rovers video, I kind of wanted to do them again. I kind of wanted to have another video involving them. So I thought that'd be pretty cool. Anyway, so let's get started with the video. So the story begins with basically the Joes getting a mission that there is something going on in Indonesia, like somewhere in Indonesia. The Baroness is running a private is basically like the Baroness's private soldiers are more or less kidnapping and killing people in order to get information out of some kind of weapon. Now, the Joes at the moment don't know what the weapon is, but they do know that if it's in the Baroness's hands, and more importantly, Cobra's hands, then then it's not good. Like, whatever happens next, it can't come to pass. So the Joes are dispatched. Meanwhile, Dr. Shepard has brought together the Road Rovers and gave them the same mission, basically saying that General Parvo has been seen with the Baroness and they're looking for a super weapon, or rather, it's not so much Parvo, but more of his right hand woman. So she's working with the Baroness, and they're like, "Hey," and Hunter's like, "Hey, I've heard of her. Isn't she supposed to be fighting the Joe? Isn't she supposed to usually fight like G.I. Joe and all that? Like, what gives? Like, when did we start fighting G.I. Joe villains?" And the Shepard's like, "Listen, it's vital that whatever they're looking for doesn't fall into their hands. So I'm dispatching you there." Also, if you're wondering, side note, where this ties in with Image Comics, this isn't really like having Sarah Pazzini in here. This is more like Witchblade on its own. So we don't really have a host. We don't really have Sarah or the new host from the Image Comics. Anyway, so both the Road Rovers and G.I. Joe are headed to Indonesia to this temple at separate times, unaware of each other. Meanwhile, Baroness has been frantically digging through like these ancient ruins to find the super weapon, which is the Witchblade. The reason why she wants the Witchblade, it's not for Cobra. It turns out she's not doing this for Cobra. She's just kind of she's divided some resources to this whole expedition, saying that she's digging it up for the glory of Cobra Commander, but really it's more like for herself, because she knows something they don't. Only a woman can use this. So she has been allied with Parvo's second-in-command, because the reason why is because she was also she also kind of convinced her, like, hey, don't you hate working for for someone who sees you as nothing more than a tool? If you help me get control of Cobra, there's a seat for you. And she's already got Zarana, Zartan's sister Zarana on her side. She's just like, hey, you give me those extra forces you have of those mutant dogs, then yeah, if we can combine our two forces, and with me using the Witchblade, there's nothing on this planet that could stop us. So So Baroness is trying to find the Witchblade to overthrow Cobra Commander and bring in a new era of Cobra. Meanwhile, while they're digging this up, essentially the Joe's team that was dispatched is Scarlet, Flint, Snake Eyes, Gung Ho, and Rakondo, as well as Wild Bill on air support, and Yeah, and yeah. So we have our team of Joes, but at that time, while they're going through the jungle, that's when they encounter the Road Rovers, and the Road Rovers are like, "Oh shit, the Joes! They weren't supposed to see us," and the Joes instantly attack them, thinking they're like new mutants created by Dr. Mindbender, which is kind of a fair statement, really. Like when you really think about it. Like, you wouldn't expect to see superpowered dog people. So, the idea of them encountering each other was kind of, yeah. But the Road Rovers are like, oh shit, we weren't supposed to run into the Joes. And they're like, mutants, get them! So a fight breaks out between the Joes and the Rovers, leading to the two teams fighting each other, until Hunter convinces, Flint and Scarlet that they're on the same side. Like, they were sent on the same mission they were, and they're like, so you guys run covert op missions too? And they're like, yeah, we don't really get out in the spotlight like you guys do. For obvious reasons. And he goes, for obvious reasons. You mean the fact that you're mutant dog people? There you go. So, the two teams ally with each other, but their commotion attracted the attention of Baroness's forces. They attack. The two teams team up in order to suppress the attack and fight their way to the temple, where Baroness has found the Witchblade just kind of sitting on like a pedestal. But however, the Joes and the Rovers get there at the same time and actually distract Baroness. This leads to Baroness fighting Colleen, and they both scramble for the Witchblade. This leads to Colleen actually getting it and putting it on, and Baroness is like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "Keeping it out of your hands," and just puts it on, not realizing how dangerous this is. So immediately, the influence of the Witchblade starts just infecting her. It just starts spreading throughout her body, leading to and it's like the Witchblade itself is like talking to Colleen like, "You're the first being I've ever encountered that isn't human. I'm very curious to see how you'll react to this merger. Like, I'm very curious to see how this merger will affect us both. But I believe I can have a lot more influence on you than my previous hosts." And Colleen is like, "Yeah, fat chance on that, pal. Like, sorry, mate, but you don't, you're not going to have influence on me." But, yeah. Now, however, during this conversation, that's in Colleen's head. Like, she thinks she's having the upper hand. Meanwhile, on the outside, the Witchblade's already, piloting her body. Basically, it's keeping her mentally distracted, and now the forces of all four factions are now at the mercy of Colleen now using the Witchblade. And it's just kind of just tearing through everything in its way until, Hunter manages to, Hunter is like, "Look, we gotta knock some sense into her. Just go for her and try to knock some sense into her." So both everyone is forced to work together in order to knock some sense into Colleen and force her to come back to reality and force her to reject the influence of the Witchblade. After she had just cut her way through all of Baroness's forces, Baroness is just like, "I'm out." So Parvo arrives, grabs his minion, is like, "I am going to really show you what for when this is over." And however, Colleen does reject the Witchblade and rip it off of, and just manage to get it off her body. So, but they basically are like, "We can't let this fall into enemy hands," and essentially they let G.I. Joe take it and hide it somewhere where even their own government can't find it. By the end of it, they both part ways as allies, and the day is saved. So there you go, guys. That is the three-way crossover of G.I. Joe, Road Rovers, and Witchblade. Yeah, this was the runner-up for the voting, so this was a lot of fun to do. But you guys tell me in the comments below, what did you guys think of this crossover? Did you guys like it, hate it? Comment below, let me know. Once again, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.